Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial, and today we're on the starboard side saluting gun platform here on the O1 level of Battleship New Jersey. We're relatively far forward on the ship. I'd guess we're around frame 95, so I guess forward of the midway point. We're just aft of the captain's cabin here. During World War II, this deck was host to two 20mm anti-aircraft guns. Actually, you can still see the weld marks in the deck where they used to be. There's one here, there's one over there. By the Korean War, these single mount 20mm had been replaced with a pair of twin mount 20mm guns. But sometime about 1951, 1952, they're removed and they're replaced with a pair of 40mm saluting guns, like this one right here. Originally, these saluting guns, which have a mounting base that's just about the same size as the 20mm mount, were mounted on the original bases. Right at the end of the ship's career, this platform was modified for a new weapon type. One of the saluting guns goes away entirely. Another one, they move the base from where it had originally been right here where I'm standing over as far as it could go to this position. That opens up the arc of fire for this weapon system right here. Now, interestingly, Battleship New Jersey's modernization in the 80s was pretty austere. So the original 20mm mounting position, including its full shield, was left intact on this ship. The later Iowa-class battleships, particularly Missouri and Wisconsin, were authorized to have more work done. So unlike New Jersey, where the 40mm tub was kept and the 20mm tub was kept, this was cut away, and then a whole new platform was welded here for the saluting guns, and it had a regular pipe railing. In fact, it seems like those ships lost their original World War II railings that Battleship New Jersey retained and had all the railings just replaced like that. So when New Jersey is modified to have this weapon system, they cut away the shield and add this railing here, which can be easily disconnected and folded down so that the gun, which is deck level, can now depress. This is a Mark 38 25mm Bushmaster Chain Gun. It was added to provide more stopping power against small boats, suicide craft, those sorts of things. The sort of things that are moving too quickly for our 5-inch guns or our 16-inch guns to be able to track and engage. But perhaps are too big for our 50 caliber guns to be able to stop. Previously, we've done several videos where we talked about the Bushmaster, and in all of them, I said that the Iowa-class battleships were modified for these right at the extreme end of their career, around 1989, 90, and not all of them had it. As far as we know, only Missouri and Wisconsin received this weapon system, and that would have been in 1991 when they were operating in the Persian Gulf. All of the ships, for sure, New Jersey, Missouri, and Wisconsin are modified to have this weapon. I'm not entirely sure about Iowa because she's decommissioned a year earlier than New Jersey, but the three that are still around for sure, and possibly Iowa right at the very end of her career, are modified to have this weapon, but there's so few in the inventory that they don't all receive the weapon. And so New Jersey has the mounts, never got the gun until we became a museum, and we accepted the gun, not knowing that we didn't have it. We was like, oh, well, the mount's there. Obviously we had it. We've got paperwork that says the Marines were retrained from manning Mount 55 to manning the Mark 38, so we must have had it, right? No, nope. If we had gone to the Persian Gulf, they would have taken it off of another ship that was leaving the Persian Gulf and dropped it on us. Anyway, turns out I was wrong. We recently found some pictures online of the gun crews on Battleship Missouri in 1986, so right after Missouri has been reactivated, with one of these guns in a slightly different configuration than we have. So what is going on there? If you go on Wikipedia, you can see that 1986 is the year that the very earliest Block 0 versions of these, we're up to like Block 4 or 5 right now. Battleship New Jersey was probably set up to have a Block 1. I believe this is a Block 1. So Missouri had a Block 0 in the very same year that it comes out. The Block Zeros are like the pre-production prototypes that are being tested. This weapon system was originally developed for the turrets of Bradley fighting vehicles. pretty famously being used in Ukraine right now, pretty famously used by the United States during Gulf War I. Anyway, the Navy likes the gun, it's already in production, so they have this sort of mount made up for it that can be manned. The Block 3s and 4s that are being put on ships nowadays are remote controlled. So somebody in Combat Engagement Center has a joystick and a camera, and they can control the gun from there. It doesn't even need to be manned. Likewise, the one that we saw on the Coast Guard cutter Angela McShann is one of those probably Mark IV remote controlled ones. Now, as you can see from these pictures of Missouri, the setup is completely different. This gun seems to be mounted a little bit further over where the 20mm gun would have originally been, and this saluting gun is in its original position. It hasn't been pushed all the way up against the rail here. Likewise, you can see what I meant about the pipe rail has replaced the shield that dates back to World War II for New Jersey and was replaced probably in 85, 86 for Missouri. You can also see that they laid that diamond tread platform to get this up, and you can see that the platform overlaps with the mount here, so that's, I don't know, at least 4, 5, maybe 6 inches up above the deck for whatever reason. Rather than modifying the railing, they put in this whole platform to elevate the gun above the railing so it can still depress as much as they wanted. Those platforms are no longer on Missouri, so my suspicion is Missouri is the big new ship in 1986. She's already a very famous ship. Her reactivation is very much publicized, and she's about to do a round-the-world cruise, which involves sailing through the Middle East, and so the Navy decides to put this new weapon system on there. There are pictures of both the port and starboard, so she receives 2 of these guns, and this was probably the test mount, and they almost certainly figured out that, hey, we don't have the field of fire that we want, so we want to move this over, which means getting this out of the way and changing up some other stuff. And if we modify the railing, we don't have to put in all this other complicated stuff. You can see in at least one of the pictures here of the port side mount, they've set up sandbags around the position. Ships nowadays use armor plates like that shield right there set up around the position. And of course on us we would have had the splinter shield before that was cut away. So I'm wondering if maybe the weight of the sandbags or the need for armor plate was too much for the light diamond plate that they laid out on that platform, and so they decided to, yeah, if we just move it back down to deck level, now it can support that kind of weight. I'm not entirely sure what all went into that testing. It's just really cool to see that the Iowa-class battleships were probably the prototype ships, if not the very first. They were among the first to get it, with Battleship Missouri at least having one of the very earliest ones. In a previous video, I talked about how each of the Iowas was special for something, and my joke was that Missouri was special for being a desk. Like, MacArthur got to sign his name on board, and that's what she's special for. I said that New Jersey was special because we got to test fire the Tomahawk land attack and sea attack missiles. We were the first surface warship to do that, the first surface warship to be equipped with the Tomahawks. But it now seems like Missouri's expertise during this time period may well have been her close-in work. She was the first one that got these weapon systems, which means her crew had the most time training on these. She, of course, had the same 50 cals that the other Iowas had, and she had a detachment on board in the Persian Gulf that carried Stinger missiles. So she almost certainly had small arms weapons and that sort of close-in weapon system that just put the other Iowas to shame. And of course, she had Cook Casey Ryback on board, who is the ultimate close warfare fighter. So that's absolutely what her specialty was in the 80s. And they were able to use these weapon systems to destroy several mines in the Persian Gulf, which are still painted on the side of the superstructure today, proving their effectiveness. So it's always interesting to me to see Iowa-class battleships, nominally identically built ships, particularly given that New Jersey and Missouri are both reactivated in the 80s at Long Beach. having completely different setups. So it was really cool finding those pictures. It modifies our entire knowledge of when this weapon system was used, how it was used on board these ships, and it certainly proves that they are not the same. Unfortunately, Missouri hasn't been able to get any of these to put on display yet, but if you want to see one, you can always come out to Battleship New Jersey. Do you think 2 of these guns located relatively far forward is enough? I think it's relatively anemic. It's good enough for an Arleigh Burke destroyer, but surely an Iowa-class battleship should have more of these. There's certainly the deck space to put them out there. But let us know in the comment section down below if you think 2's enough or if you think these ships should have gotten priority and had more assigned. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate your support. There's a link in the description below if you'd like to donate to support the museum. You can also support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find out about the museum and our channel. Thanks for watching.